Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen podcast by Eastmans. Now your host, Todd Helms.
This episode of the Wingmen podcast is brought to you by Leupold Optics. You know, I've been running Leupold Optics for a long time on the big game side of things, and I love the performance and the quality of that brand. But when Leupold brought performance eyewear into the mix a couple of years ago, I thought I'd seen it all, but I was wrong. That performance eyewear from Leupold keeps my eyes protected. It helps me with my target acquisition with a crisp, clear sight picture. And guys, I got to be honest with you, I'm stoked to be partnered with a company like Leupold. So for all your optics needs, give Leupold a look. Hey, sports fans, welcome to another episode of the Wingmen podcast. You got yours truly on here today, and I don't know why I'm wearing sunglasses inside. We'll just take those off. But I wanted to sit down and give an update, give you guys an update about where we're at, what we're doing. You know, it's an interesting time of year. A lot of guys are shooting shotguns. A lot of guys are training dogs. A lot of guys are fishing, playing golf, whatever it is that you're out there doing. There's definitely a slowdown season for all of us, really. And that's a good thing. It gives us time to sit back and relax and enjoy friends and family. And, you know, we're just coming off the 4th of July week. And that's a crazy, hectic time. But it's an awesome time as well. And lots going on in the country right now. You know, we're just coming off of the assassination attempt of President Trump, and I don't have a lot of words about that. It's maddening, it's infuriating, it is what it is. But we're not going to dwell on that right now. We're going to talk about where we're at, what we've been doing, and just some of the things that we're looking forward to this upcoming fall season. We've been going through some old content, looking at how we can maximize our potential and what we can do better. And one of the things I think that we're really going to try harder to do is to be more engaged with you guys, our audience. And that when we see comments and questions on things, social media posts and YouTube videos and in these podcasts, I personally am going to work a lot harder at getting those things answered for you. So you're, you know, when you ask a question, it gets answered. And I think that's one of the best ways that we can help provide the best content we can for all of you out there. That being said, you know, what have we been up to? What have we been doing this time of year? Well, as you can see behind me, office has changed dramatically. We're in the process of moving into new digs here at Eastmans and Wingmen, and we're stoked about that. We're in a remodel process of a totally different building and totally different location, and still in the same town that we've been in, but different place, different office. So that's exciting. This is kind of temporary right now. There's not a lot going on behind me. I'm sharing off my left shoulder. He's right there. Say hi, Dan.
How's it going?
You guys recognize Dan Picard. He's run the video camera for us on the Wingman series quite a bit. Been on a bunch of hunts, but he's obviously world famous for the Beyond the Grid series that he hosts. And his podcast, Eastman's Life of a Bowhunter, that he co-hosts with Brian Barney. So lots of great stuff. It's kind of fun sharing an office with Dan. We get to go back and forth and give each other all kinds of grief, which is a good time. But on the hunting side of things, we have been shooting, spending as much time at the range as we can. Got a new Stevens 5x5 Sporting, or 555 Sporting, that I've been putting through the paces this year so far in these last few weeks. It's been lights out. Super stoked about that. Excited for things coming up, summer events, but really been focusing, kind of hammering down on family time and dog work. I've been doing the best to bring you. We've recorded one episode so far of a series of podcasts on training with my good buddy Josh Lancaster at Red Flats Retrievers. And he and I have been working dogs as much as we can. It's been hot. And so our training sessions have been fairly short, fairly limited, water-based, early in the mornings. But one of the things, the last podcast that he and I recorded, was identifying weakness. And that means both in ourselves as trainers, dog trainers, and in our retrievers and our dogs. Being able to look and see, you know what, I'm not where I want to be right now. Hondo in particular, there's some things that I've come up short in my own training and scheduling with him, and it reflects in the field. One of those things is taking not long marks necessarily, because he's very good at marking, but long casts. And what I mean by that is a goose blind setup in particular. He's dynamite if he can mark birds. He's great. And he's pretty darn good at casting across the river, which for a lot of dogs is tough. He handles that very, very well. And then taking hand signals, he does nicely at. One of the weaknesses that I noticed last year was on some of our goose hunts later in the year, he didn't want to go back. He didn't want to drive out and go where I needed him to go. You know, say there's a bird that coasts down 60, 70 yards away and it's out there, it's dead, and he doesn't have a visual. Getting him to go back in a straight line is definitely a weakness. And Josh and I have been really working our dogs hard in that regard, doing long ladder drills. And a ladder drill is basically a series of bumpers in a straight line spread out over a long distance. And so far I've got Hondo to go out to about 200 yards. And that's about as far as we're at right now. I think this week we'll probably push that and try to get him further, maybe 250, 300, maybe even 4. Trying to build that confidence in him that when I line him on a mark and I send him, he just runs until I either stop him with the whistle or he finds what it is that I'm driving him towards. That's a hard thing for dogs to do. Getting a dog to go away from you or back from you is tricky. And Hondo's still young. I mean, he's going into his second full hunting season. He's 3 years old, and he did exceptionally well last year. That's the only complaint that I really had. He's got nice handle. He's very obedient. He's got tons and tons of drive and heart. That's the one area that I need him to do better at, and I need to do better at, is getting him to just take a line and go. And so that's the biggest thing that we are working on right now. Obviously, with temps almost at, topping out in the high 90s, mid to high 90s every day, when I'm not training during the middle of the day. I'm training either late in the evening right before bed or first thing in the morning, really, really early. And even then, I'm trying to work in as much water as possible and just trying to keep him in condition. So when season rolls around in October, he's dialed and ready to go. We've got a lot of stuff in the works planned out for this fall. I've been filming a bunch of gear reviews. I just did a really good, really awesome gear review on some Leupold binoculars, on the BX4 Pro Guide HD series of binoculars. You can find that on our YouTube channel. Just dropped last week. It's in my opinion, it's a great gear review on a great product from Leupold. And I walk you through not necessarily all the specs and features, because you guys can get those on Leupold's website, but I walk you through how I use that series of binoculars and how I've been using that series of binoculars, everything from the small 8x42s up to the big 12x50s. There's a use case for every single one of those, and I walk through that in that gear review. So make sure you check that out. And leave us any questions or comments that you might have as well. And if you're not a subscriber to the YouTube channel, guys, I would really appreciate it if you went over to YouTube, searched up wingmen.us, and mash that subscribe button. It really helps us drive content. It really helps us create content and bring you awesome stuff that I know you want to see. So that's it in what we've been doing and filming, kind of looking at hunts for this fall. This episode of the Wingmen Podcast is brought to you by Savage. A couple of years ago, guys, when I got my hands on the first Savage Renegade that I'd ever seen,
I was really curious about this new shotgun and this new kind of design that they had going on. And I tell you what, that curiosity turned into being blown away pretty quickly. I love how the Savage is tough as nails and just performs and kills birds across the board in any condition I need it to. I've had a couple thousand rounds through the models that I have now, and they just flat go bang and kill birds, which is what I need. I love the fact that I can change the fit and the feel, and the performance is next level. Gotta love the Savage Renegade.
Wingman's kind of a unique bird in the fact that it we play a lot of what we do by ear, depending on migration, depending on bird numbers and weather and different things like that. We have the possibility to go back to Canada this year, which I'm mulling over, not decided whether or not that's going to happen yet. But we've always got stuff in the works. We're super stoked to continue working with our partners at Cryptek and Federal and High Mountain and Leupold and Onyx, and trying to bring you some more collaborative style content. That said, the first of last fall's hunts are going to start dropping in the next few weeks. We recorded some awesome stuff last year, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. I really, really can't. We had one of the best years that Wingmen has ever had as far as content creation goes. It was a ton of fun to do. It was a ton of fun to bring to you guys, and I'm excited for you to interact with it and let us know what you think. Hopefully we can lay down more awesome stuff this fall. I don't think it's going to be a problem. God seems to smile on what we do here, and all praise and glory be to him for allowing us to do what we do. It's a lot of fun. The rest of the summer is probably going to be made up of some camping trips and some fishing trips for us here at Wingmen. We love birds, we love dogs, we love shooting, but there's a family element in what we do as well. We're all family men. We all love the outdoors in a lot of various forms, and getting our kids involved is huge. This last spring, I got both my girls in a pop-up blind to shoot their first turkeys. My oldest daughter shot a bird here locally, and it was big mature gobbler with beard rot, and I'm excited for you guys to see that hunt. That was just a phenomenal deal, and it was a ton of fun. She was super stoked. It was so cool. And then my middle child, my youngest daughter, my middle child, shot a turkey as well. We went with a buddy of mine over on the eastern side of the state and got her on a bird, and I was kind of surprised. I didn't have that in the works this spring, and it was kind of a last minute deal. And she's young, she's only 6 years old, and went out and proved that she could handle the 410. And boy, she put the Federal TSS to work on a nice young bird, and we had a great time on that hunt. It was just super cool. So making memories both in the field and at home this time of year is what we love to be doing. We love working dogs. We love bringing everything we can to you guys. Super stoked for you to leave some comments here and let us know what your plans are as well. What do you have coming up? We love to share in those hunts and in these videos with you. And it's, we're all part of a big brotherhood and a big community. On that note, guys, it's been brought to my attention over the last few weeks that there's roughly a million licensed hunters that are buying hunting licenses in various states that are not voting. And in the upcoming elections, I can't stress how important it is to go cast your vote. You might think, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. And there's a company out there called voteforamerica.org that you can go on. I'll include the link in this description. You can go right to their website and you can register to vote. It's your patriotic, God-given American duty to vote. And exercising that in this coming election is probably more important than at any other time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you who to vote for. That's up to you. But the fact that you exercise that that privilege to vote, that privilege, that right that has been fought for and bled for and guaranteed to you by previous generations is so vitally important. So go to voteforamerica.org and get registered. And while you're at it, get somebody else registered. Take a friend to the polls in the primaries and in the general election later this fall in November. Get out and vote. We cannot create change. We cannot affect the change that we want to see, and we can't protect the awesome hunting traditions and heritage that we have and that we enjoy as Americans without doing our patriotic duty of voting. So get out, vote, go down to the description right now and click on that link. Even if it means you don't finish listening to this podcast, go do it. That's the important thing. Like I said, I'll include that link in the comments. You guys get out, get voted. It's super important. So there, I'm going to get off my soapbox now about that, but I can't in good conscience not say that and not encourage you guys to get out and vote. So remainder of the summer, back to that. So remainder of the summer for us is going to be a bunch of camping. It's going to be a bunch of fishing. It's just going to be getting ready for the season. One of the things that I know a lot of guys are out working on blinds or getting ready. There's some seasons coming up in a few short weeks. I'm thinking you guys in North Dakota, especially, you've got early honker seasons in August, and anybody else who does as well, man, I'm jealous of that. Good for you. Hopefully I can get out and go do some of that. Maybe get to North Dakota and hunt with some buddies would be super, super cool. But right now, I don't work real hard on blind building or anything like that in the off season. There's some decoy prep that I'll do in the next few weeks. Little by little, I'll start pulling decoys out of the storage unit and getting them to the car wash, getting them cleaned up, getting cords replaced on floaters, making sure stuff is dialed and ready. But honestly, we don't hit it really hard here until October, November, and really December, January, and February is our go time. And so a lot changes in our blind locations. We do have some permanent blinds that we maintain, and I'll get building those later. Right now it's hot, it's buggy in a lot of those locations, and it's just not a very pleasant experience to be out doing that stuff. We don't maintain flooded corn, or we don't do any of that type of stuff. We're not guides, we're not outfitters, so I don't necessarily have to hit that as hard as some of you other guys do. I know Noah Miller over at Mountain View Mallards, sorry Noah, over at Mountain View Mallards is cranking already, in prep. He's already building blinds and getting stuff set and getting stuff ready to go. For us, it's just not that important to get that far ahead of it, and that's okay. When I was younger, man, I've always loved to be immersed in my hunting year round, and I still am. It just looks a little different now. But back when I was younger, man, I burned myself out this time of year, be scouting crops and talking to farmers, and those are all good things to do. So you have an idea for things to come during the upcoming season. But, with a family and a demanding work schedule and a family that takes up a lot of time, my focus is on them. My focus is on my dogs and my shooting. That to me seems like the best use of my time this time of year. I'm gone a lot in the fall on hunts and doing different things for Wingmen. And so storing up that family time right now and creating memories with my kids and my family, my wife, my parents and friends as well, getting out and fishing, taking them camping, helping them, having them help work the dogs, doing all that different stuff is vitally important to me this time of year, more so than playing with gear all the time or getting blinds ready all the time. There'll be time for me to do that later, but right now the focus is on those things and really incorporating them into the everyday lifestyle of a waterfowler, of a wing shooter. And for me right now, that's shooting guns and training dogs. And what does that look like on a weekly basis for me? I don't shoot every week anymore. I used to. And back to Dan Picard, sitting over there in the corner as a bow hunter, he firmly believes that you could shoot your bow too much And I'm a firm believer that in the same thing with a shotgun. Anything that is more involves a lot of muscle memory, like shooting a shotgun or shooting a shotgun or shooting a bow, you can create bad habits if you're not careful. And those bad habits can really become bugbears during the hunting season, and they could be extremely hard to get over. One of the things that I noticed years ago when I was shooting competitive skeet was I was on a hot streak, man. I was destroying it. I was doing really well, shooting extremely well, shooting in the high 20s, I was only missing a bird, maybe 2 every round. A lot of rounds I'd run it. But I all of a sudden hit a slump, and there were 2 stations in the middle of the field, stations 5 and 6, that I could not hit birds on. A mental block. Something happened. I still can't tell you what, but I'm pretty sure it had to do with my anticipation of watching myself break that bird. I think I was lifting my head. I was stopping the gun, not swinging through, not following through. And I thought that at that time, being young, I thought that the best thing I could do was to just keep shooting. I'll figure it out. I'll pound it. And finally I had an older shooter come to me, and he's like, dude, you need to take some time off. You need to walk away from the course for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and come back and get after it. So I removed myself from league shoot, from being in the league, and I kind of bowed out. I didn't shoot for a month and a half, and I stopped in July. It was about this time of year, and I didn't pick up a shotgun again until right before the goose opener on September 1st. And something changed, something in there. My mind got to reset. Something happened. The old muscle memory came back, and I ran out. In the first round, I shot a 24. Second round, I shot a 25. And I was like, man, what in the world? Because I had gone from shooting 23s and 24s and 25s to like 16s, 17s, 18s. And I was just so frustrated. And the more I shot, the more frustrated I became. And it was really getting in my head and creating some bad habits and reinforcing bad habits that were not going away. And so I set it down. I walked away from the gun, and ever since that day, I don't shoot competitively anymore. And I don't over practice. I'll go out, I'll shoot a couple times a month right now, and just simple stuff. Round of skeet here, round of sporting clays there, maybe around a trap, maybe just going out and with a buddy and throwing hand clays, or going out with my wife and the kids and throwing hand birds and shooting those. Just something to keep those fundamentals crisp and sharp and keep that aim and eye oiled, but not enough to create any bad habits. I turned 46 in May, and what I've got is pretty much where I'm going to be at this stage of the game for shooting ability.
This episode of the Wingmen Podcast is brought to you by Kryptek. Guys, camouflage and quality hunting garments and apparel are vitally important to success in the field. You want to be out there when you want to be out there, and for as long as you want to be out there. And you need high quality garments and clothing and gear that's going to keep you concealed at the same time. Kryptek's variety of camouflage patterns and the offerings of apparel that they bring to market are second to none. I love being partnered with that company. I love the shared ethos that we have. I love the shared values that we have. And I'm super proud to support a veteran-owned American company like Kryptek.
Now, if I felt like I was incredibly rusty and my shooting dropped way off, I'd go get help. I may get a coach. I may dive in and with a couple of good buddies that know what they're doing and try to help me diagnose some problems. But taking some time and just enjoying life and not overshooting, not shooting too much, has really helped my hunting shooting. I'm not the world's best shotgun shooter by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm better than the average bear too. So I'm pleased with where I'm at for my shooting. during the fall, and I feel like I've gotten a system of shooting in the summer where I do enough because I enjoy it. It's fun, and I go out, I scratch that itch, I have some fun, I play with gear, and keep myself sharp without practicing too much. There's an old saying of the hay is in the barn by this point, and I'm not saying that I couldn't become better, but having that experience that I had in my 20s where I hit a wall and really created some bad habits where I was picking up my head, I wasn't following through. I think I had a little bit of target panic. I was jerking the trigger on the shotgun really bad. And you think, well, it's not a rifle. You don't have to squeeze the trigger. No, but you still need a good, clean break on that trigger. You don't want to be jerking and flinching all over the place because it does affect your accuracy with a shotgun. And once you get started down that road and in that slump, it's extremely difficult to break out of it. So I don't shoot as much as I used to, but I still shoot. I know a lot of you guys listening to this are probably into the shotgun game. You're doing it competitively. You're shooting league every night. That's awesome. Good for you. I do miss league shooting. My schedule and family commitments right now make that very, very difficult for me to do. And so I don't do as much of it as I used to. In fact, I don't do any of the league stuff anymore. But I think that that's beneficial for me because it doesn't allow me to get into slumps. It doesn't allow me to create those bad habits that going into season, then the wheels are turning in my brain and I can't shut it off. And I'm missing easy shots on birds that I shouldn't be missing. And I'm frustrated and things just don't go well. So there's that. There's the shooting side of things. And on the dog training side, it can be the same thing. If you're out there just doing the same thing with your dog over and over and over and over again, and you're not challenging your dog, you're not challenging yourself as a trainer, you're not going to grow. And that's why taking Hondo's and taking our problem, the Hondo and I have, of not taking straight lines for 200, 300, 400 yards, working that in slowly and starting with 50, 60, 70, 80, working up to 100, then working to 150, then working to 200 and beyond is the approach that I've taken with that, because I like dog training. I like working with Hondo, but I don't want to get frustrated and have the worst traits of my personality come out while I'm training. And that, because that doesn't do anything for the dog, it doesn't do anything good for Hondo, it doesn't do anything good for me, it just makes everything frustrating. So a little bit of training. Again, it's hot. Being aware of the environmental conditions, so I'm not stressing Hondo out. I'm not going to get him heat stroked. Right now, he's the one dog we've got pretty much at Wingmen. I've got Mackinac still, but Mackinac's 12, and I can't lean on Mackinac the way I used to. He's going to go out and he's going to get a few retrieves, but he's pretty well retired, guys. And I was going back through some videos before this podcast, looking for some questions or some comments that I could address in some of the older YouTube videos, and just looking back at the things that Mackinac has done and how he helped build this brand is phenomenal. And it brings back a lot of awesome memories. And I miss that dog. I miss that old Mackinac dog. He's still here, he's still around, but not in that capacity. He's pretty well retired. So you guys are going to get a lot of Hondo. He's going to be pretty much the flag bearer for Wingmen from this point forward. You'll see Scott Reeker's dog, Ace, on and off, but Hondo is the standard bearer for sure. He gets the bulk of the work, and rightly so. He's young and he's a go-getter. He's an awesome dog, and we love him. Making sure that these months and weeks leading up to season are getting him the reps that he needs, and without burning him out, without burning us out, is super important. You got to keep in mind when you're dog training that it's a marathon and it's not a sprint. You don't want to go crazy and too hard, because the next thing you know, you're burned out, you're frustrated, you're not doing the things you need to do, and neither is your dog. And you head into season in a funk, you head into season frustrated with where you're at. And I'd much rather go slower, take some time, make sure that he's as dialed as he can possibly be. And I promise you, that by the time hunting season rolls around this fall, he's going to have those long marks out to 300, 400, 500 yards just dialed. I'm going to be able to line him and send him, and he's going to go. He's already doing better. There's lots of ways you could do that. I like to pick a pretty open course, like maybe an old 2-track road where there's no traffic, and put bumpers in that road and send him in a ladder progression. Start close, work far. And that helps him be focused and run a straight line every single time. And it's easy for me to correct him back in the line if he gets wide, right or left. I can do the same thing on water. It's a little more difficult because you're not going to walk out and place dummies in a ladder in water. And they're usually not going to stay in place either. But one of the things that I can do with watermarks is throw a mark and then hide a bumper, or have somebody else hide a bumper where he's working on a distant blind that's, say in some reeds or in some brush that's further away. Just help him continue to build confidence in his own abilities and in my hand signals and in my commands, so that he knows that when I send him someplace, there's a bird there or a bumper there or whatever to fetch. Those things are all going to pay dividends for us this fall. And I'm really excited about where we are. I'm really excited about what's coming. And I can't wait to like I said, I can't wait to bring you guys more and more content. The hunts that we've got, a few hunts we've got planned coming up. I'm not going to get too off in the weeds on those because you never know what could happen. But I'm excited for this fall. Other stuff that's going on around here, around the Eastmans office. It's big game. We're knocking on the door of big game season. And I know this is a bird hunting podcast and a bird hunting focus, but our parent company is Eastman's Hunting Journals. And that's all big game, all Western big game all the time. And I am a big part of that with what I do as the managing editor of the magazine. And I get to do a lot of fun stuff. And the anticipation's starting to ramp up. We got a young man in the office with a sheep tag. Dan Picar over my left shoulder drew a once-in-a-lifetime bull elk tag that he's stoked for. He's got two other bull elk hunts along the way, plus a bunch of deer and antelope stuff. I've got family plans on some big game hunts because I didn't draw any tags. But luckily where we live, I can still hunt over-the-counter tags. So that anticipation is palpable around here. We're coming up on August pretty quick, and August is like final prep time. You're getting your legs and your lungs in shape. You're getting, your gear dialed, your gun dialed, your bow dialed. You're getting all your last minute plans and prep for your trips and hunts in. And it's big time around here. Fall's a super busy time, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. Best thing about what I do is I get to do both. I get to do the big game side of things, and then that goes right into the Wingmen side with bird hunting and waterfowl. And it's awesome. Guys, if you haven't checked out the rest of the Wingmen podcast, if you're just stumbling on this for the first time, thank you for listening. And I've had some phenomenal guests on in the past, some real A-list hunting celebrities, if you will. And I have a whole library on this channel, on the Wingmen YouTube channel. We created another Wingmen specific podcast channel on YouTube that you can go to. You can find these podcasts anywhere you get your podcasts. I would highly encourage you, go listen to some of those old podcasts and shoot us emails, leave us comments, let us know what else you want to hear. Let us know, ideas for other guests, or shoot us any questions that you might have. We exist to help to entertain you and help you become a better waterfowl hunter and better bird hunter in the end game. So anyway, that's a quick update on where we are, what we're doing, what we've been up to. And I hope your summer's going great. I hope you're shooting. I hope you're working dogs and prepping and doing whatever it is that you love to do. So stay tuned for more. I've got another podcast coming up next week with Josh Lancaster from Red Flats Retrievers. We're going to talk more about some dog training specific things, probably some puppy talk. Josh just had a litter. If you guys are in the market for Labrador Retriever, I'd highly recommend Josh. He's got phenomenal breeding lines, and he just so happens to have a litter that he's in the process of whelping right now. So give him a call if you're interested in a dog, and check out everything that he's doing. And I couldn't be happier to be affiliated with that guy. He's just a good dude. So anyway, guys, thanks again for listening to this episode of the Wingmen podcast. Stay tuned for more. We got awesome stuff headed your way. Until next time, guys, we'll see you in the field.